it is one of the most under surveillance areas in the world, Gaza. There are multiple layers of security barriers between Gaza and Israel. There is 24/7 monitoring. There is human intelligence sources inside Gaza. You'd have to say there's a catastrophic security failure that has happened. I mean, that's quite obvious, and senior Israeli security officials, current serving security officials and previous security officials and intelligence officials have already said that on the record, and that there needs to be some form of public inquiry. That should happen given the scale of killing against Israelis, the hostage taking, the people have been injured, the people have been displaced. The Israeli government owe it to their citizens. This is one of the biggest crises in the world right now, human rights crisis. So it's inevitable. I'd be working on this. What I would say though is I was already working at a very high level on this issue before October. I think that's important to say, that the crisis didn't start last October. It certainly escalated. The escalation was horrific. It didn't necessarily come as a surprise though. We'd been warning for some time, including publicly warning governments for some time, including in 2023 when there was an escalation in Gaza around April, that this can only get worse if certain actions by governments weren't taken on board.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה, לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה.
Israel suffered a bigger defeat last October than ever it has before. In the 1973 war, Israel was surprised, but it was surprised on the Suez Canal and the Golan Heights, which are substantially far apart from where most Israelis live. In Gaza, the attack was on Israeli homes and villages and towns and bases, and Israeli civilians, over 1,000, were killed, and hundreds were taken hostage. This were unprecedented. Israel had never seen anything like it. And in the months since, thousands of people who live near Gaza and thousands of people who live near the Lebanese border have left their homes, which again is unprecedented. There certainly was, from everything we know, a lot of warning indicators that the Israeli intelligence community, or at least parts of it, were very concerned about. But the Israeli government itself doesn't seem to have taken it very seriously. That is a perennial problem for intelligence agencies. In this case, it led to a disaster. Now we have a war that's been going on for virtually a year. The price Israel is paying is very, very high. The price the region is paying is very, very high. The attacks by the Yemeni group, the Houthis, on shipping in the Red Sea has cut traffic in the Suez Canal significantly, which has economic impact on Egypt. The whole region is paying a cost for this, which is why we need urgently a ceasefire in Gaza to start to calm tensions down in the region. Many people worry about a regional war. I would say this: we have a regional war. It's just at this point limited to a certain extent. Those limits are creaking, to put it mildly. They could explode completely.
I have friends who were injured. I have friends who were killed, whether it happened on the 7th, whether it happened basically, meters away from us in Gaza when we were fighting. In between the rounds of Gaza, you'd go in for 2-3 weeks, you'd get out for a day or two, and you'd go in for 2-3 weeks again. Those 24 to 48 hours were meant for breathing and relaxing, and a lot of times, instead of being with your family, you'd have to go to a funeral.
What's going on in Gaza today is frightening. The entire civilian population of Gaza, over 2 million people, have been under bombardment now since October 8th. Many of them have lost their homes. Over 40,000 people have been killed, maybe a lot more than that. 40,000 people killed in the Gaza war is more dead than the Americans suffered in the Korean War in the 1950s.
The stated objective is not achievable of destroying Hamas, and current UK government senior officials would say the same thing. They've said that to us in meetings months ago. It's not achievable. There's 101 people right now, Israelis and foreign nationals, who are being held as hostages. They should be released. It's a war crime to hold them, to torture them. And again, that's why we get back to the absolute necessity, and echoing what tens of thousands of Israelis are saying inside Israel. There needs to be a deal.
I can't believe that the hostages still haven't come back. I just can't believe that we're still in this situation. Like, my life has drastically changed, just like many other Israelis and Jews around the world. I'm telling you, as an IDF soldier, and I represent many other soldiers, and I'm sure they would be happy for me to speak on behalf of them. We don't want to annihilate the Palestinians. We don't want to deal with Gaza, with the Palestinians. We don't want to control them. We want to live our lives and have them live their lives. That's the most important thing. As a right-wing person, I don't agree with the extreme right. No one wants to take over Gaza besides a few people in the government and a few crazy people here in Israel. It's a very, very, very small percentage. We want them to live in Gaza, live in peace, but to be governed in a way that is terror-free. It's quite simple. We don't really even like joke about wanting to take over Gaza. We don't want to. Like, Gaza is beautiful, don't get me wrong. I think Gaza could be more beautiful than Dubai if the billions of dollars that went into Gaza were used to actually rebuild it or build it versus used for terror. I don't believe that a two-state solution is possible. I don't believe that we can put full trust in the Palestinians to have their own state side by side and not attack us. I do believe that if we are, number one, able to eradicate Hamas, and it's a bit hard because Hamas isn't just a terrorist group, it's an ideology. But if we're able to destroy all of the Hamas leaders, then if we're able to come in and govern, Gaza, like, our part will be security, and have some sort of third party come in and raise people not to hate, raise people to live a life that's free from terror, then maybe one day we'll be able to get to a two-state solution.